Your virtual radio is tuned to the Brain Software Podcast. This is episode number 204, coming at you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. I'm Chris Thompson, and today, Mike Mandel and I will be answering questions from our students around the world. We do this once in a while, so stay tuned. But first, your disclaimer.
Disclaimer. I freely admit that my sense of humor, despite being glanative and without peer, is not to everyone's taste. That's all I wanted to say. Lucci.
Hey, Strap. What's going down, Scro? Things are awesome up here, Bag, because Brado's coming up here to visit, Pouch. Best of all, Duder and Eddard aren't. They're probably in the 11th dimension, which is where all the people with greasy mullets and striped bell-bottoms wind up penis. But most important of all is this question. Whatever occurred to that ancient calm and laid-backness that disappeared from our awareness?
Ask the question right now, please, Dr. Ambrose.
Okay, what happens when you fuse hydrogen to helium nuclei and then factor in the Branson protocol, Scro?
Let's try that again, Dave.
Okay. Whatever happened to that whole tranquility we used to know?
These are days of victory. So welcome to the mesmeric Baquette, a man who's never afraid to take the Trance Express off the rails. The Aberama Gold of hypnotic assassination, and the Keith Richards of hypnosis, Mike Mandel.
It's got to go. Yes, Christopher.
Every time I put just the Keith Richards of
Shut up about
hypnosis.
Keith Richards.
Hey,
Now,
he's still alive.
I know he is, which is, well, we think he's alive. Is anyone being sure?
Oh man! All right,
You gotta love him.
We got a good tight pot. Not that tight. We're gonna have
That's
plenty
quite
of
lax,
fun.
actually.
We've got lots of
We get
good
some
stuff
coffee in
here. Today is a Q&A session. Before we jump into the Q&A, and once in a while we do these, we just say, "Hey, students, got some questions? Throw them our way. We'll discuss them. We'll make it fun. It's a bit of a random episode in that way,
Pretty much.
which really just means we're too lazy
It's
to come up with a
Q&A
specific
Friday,
topic,
boys and
right?
girls. Pretty much, yes. So,
All right, so let's start with our think tank words. We always have these thrown up on the screen too as we bring them. So, and the entire point of the think tank words is to inspire our unconscious minds to fit them in some
through the
creative
pattern
way.
matching system of the brain and tie them into what we're
All
talking
right.
about.
And it's always hilarious because there's, well, all right, we'll see. The first word is
stereo.
stereo, because the video killed the radio stars. What popped into my head?
Buggles.
And the word stereo is not in that song.
Radio star.
Video
The Buggles. That was
I don't remember. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with stereo.
No.
But I suppose stereo actually makes me think of, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, when I was living with my parents and I had a bedroom and I built my own speaker stands and I bought these nice speakers and I had this Yamaha stereo and it was awesome. I loved it. Having my own CD player and my CD collection. I could play music whenever I wanted. I just loved it. It was awesome. So,
Well, when I think stereo, I think of stereoscopic vision, and I think of the old Viewmaster.
oh yeah.
And I just heard somebody had a little kid over, his grandson, whatever, and he had nothing to occupy him. And he found in a drawer an old Viewmaster from when he
with
was a
those
kid.
little
thing you
films,
put in and you click it and you get 3D. The kid was just blown away by it.
Yeah.
So it still has the power.
Wait till the next generation finds one of those and then goes, well, that's nothing like my Oculus virtual
that's
reality.
right.
Because now
my
we've got true stereoscopic
question for
virtual
you,
reality
Chris,
stuff.
Mr. Pac-Man. My question for you
Mr.
is,
Pac-Man?
can you avoid laughing? Because the next word is pull. Sounds like we're out skeet shooting,
So
doesn't it?
the next,
Pull.
pull. Yeah, pull, obviously.
Pull.
A force that moves towards something.
Yeah.
Okay. Pull, opposite of push, makes
Yeah.
me think of spectrums,
Yeah,
makes
I
me
bet.
think of lots of things, honestly.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, but pull. Okay, so pull, P-U-L-L.
Not something one should do on the expressway.
Yeah. Which
is our
here's
next
another
word.
one. A pull. So let's say you have a cart that you need to pull. Well, they'll tie a pull to it, like a rope, right?
Oh.
So something that seems difficult to maneuver all of a sudden is now easy because you had a pull.
As in push me, pull you.
Yeah, there you go.
Scary thing, it was
Yeah.
Dr. Doolittle.
Push me, pull you. That makes me think of a U2 song.
Stereo, pull, but expressway. We got to bring this in. So let's
Ooh.
put this freaking podcast on
the
the expressway
expressway.
and
Well,
start rocking. We're not going to pull on the brake.
I think
handle
about
and
a
haul this
strong
train
cup
back.
of coffee being the expressway
Yeah,
to my
man.
brain working. No.
Okay.
Well, we talk about trance being the expressway to
Alexander cheese.
There you go. You got anything there?
No, not a thing.
You were just staring off into space.
I was reading, it says Alexander there, and I'm thinking it's freaking Alexander cheese.
Okay, that's just weird.
It is. Now, we got the first question that came in when we opened this up. Well, one of them that made me laugh immeasurably was from Derry Cook.
Oh, in New Zealand.
Students. Yeah, and he said, his question for the podcast, and you got to love it, was, did you remember to warn Tilly about not going to the Costa Brava? He did it word perfect, which is just fantastic.
Oh, so
And
this
if you
is...
don't get that, you need to listen to the last podcast.
So and I think we could probably, do you want to explain anything about how context-free humor tends to work?
Well, I'll tell you, the key with context-free humor, me being the world's foremost
There's no
promoter,
context.
There is no context, and there's no point to it.
So it's pattern interrupt to the other person.
Yes.
And it's hilarious to you.
And you're acting as though there's a context that they're just somehow missing.
Right.
Which is
so
kind of interesting.
there's confusion. So when you ask somebody if they remembered to tell Tilly not
warn Tilly,
not tell,
warn Tilly about not going to the Costa
There's
Brava.
this specificity of language that's so important. The word warn is way funnier than the word tell. Just like
the implication of some horror waiting
when
on
you're
the
telling
beach.
a joke about somebody's pants, you say trousers.
Yeah, it's a much funnier word.
Yeah, it's much funnier.
Now, I just realized I've been looking at myself in the monitor endlessly, so now I'm back to looking at the camera as I should be.
Hi, everyone. We're just looking at ourselves.
Everyone in the studio, fix the lighting while we're working. Thank you.
There you go.
Scary. I think we had a huge crew.
Okay, so let's get on to the real questions.
Okay, first question here. When doing embedded suggestions, is it better to make a statement or make a command?
Okay, so we had an example.
And you might notice that you are feeling very relaxed. Command.
Versus,
and you can feel free to just relax deeply now.
Right.
Well,
let's first explain very quickly what the heck is an embedded command.
Go ahead.
Okay, so embedded commands, it's something that was modeled after the work of Milton H. Erickson. If I remember correctly, this was written down in one of his collected papers where his receptionist, who was dictating for him, had migraines, right?
Oh, yes. That's
and so he with her migraine, insisted that she come and take a dictation. So she sat down and started typing away or writing. I don't know how it was done, typewriter or handwritten notes, shorthand, whatever it was, doesn't matter.
What color is the pencil?
He started speaking nonsense to her and forcing her to take the dictation, but he was slipping in embedded commands about how that, I don't know what they would have been, and that feeling can just dissipate, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can feel normal again. Whatever the case may be, you're embedding statements or commands in the
or even questions
in the context of everyday conversation.
There's commands, there's embedded questions. The key is they are marked out analogically to sound somewhat different, either with a pause beforehand or touching the person as you say, have a migraine now, or any of these things.
It's very simple for you all to take notice of this and become very interested in this.
Right.
So there's some examples. All right. So the question
is it better? Well, again, we're back to context. With hypnosis, everything is context. What is one attempting to accomplish here? And for those of you who have been listening to this with all the embedded commands that we've given you in the last little while, if your migraine has just disappeared, send $100 to each of us. Yeah. So it's do them both. I typically use them both interchangeably. So embedded statements, embedded commands, and you can notice that you're feeling much better. You're feeling much better can be an embedded statement, or you can begin to feel much better. It can be an embedded command.
Yeah, I think they both work great.
Think pretty much.
Especially, I want to always come back to this concept of rapport, because we say that rapport is the glue that holds trance together. Well, you say that, and so now I say that because it's a great freaking line.
I've stopped saying it.
Rapport is the glue that holds trance together. But also, rapport is the glue that holds any psychodynamic interaction together if you want it to be a positive one.
Right.
If you don't want it to be like a physical assault between two people fighting or something.
Right. I mean, you're correct. Because even something like someone coming into a doctor's office.
Yeah.
And if the doctor maintains rapport, then that is a psychodynamic loop, and it's going to ease their concerns and so on.
And so when you're embedding a statement, like it's a simple thing to notice that you're feeling relaxed, that's not real. That's sort of a hybrid in a sense. But whether it be an embedded statement or embedded command, I think the stronger the rapport, the stronger the statement will work in comparison to not having as good rapport. Whereas without rapport, the suggestion, the embedded command will still slip past that critical faculty in the mind, even without super strong rapport. But with rapport, the statement is going to be more accepted, like the more likelihood of going, yes.
Good point. Yeah. Yes. Now, here's the other thing about that. Also, in the absence of rapport, if there's any kind of PGO spike, it's also going to have a powerful effect. I can think of 2 occasions that come to mind that were so irresponsible. If I could have gotten near the guy, I would have punched his lights out. The first time was on a plane, and I was flying out of Texas, and the plane hit some really bad turbulence, and the guy across the aisle about 3 seats ahead yelled, we're going to crash. We're all going to die. Yelled
Why
that.
would he do that?
Because
Just
he's
as
a
a
freaking
joke?
idiot, Chris.
He thought it was funny?
Yeah, because he's a freaking idiot. Yeah. So anyway, but the other one was actually worse. Heather and I were at the theater to see, what's the one with Springtime for Hitler in it? There's the compulsory Hitler reference. Springtime for Hitler. The producers.
I've got
The producers. My friend, what's his name? Associate, Cullum. He was in, I can't remember his first name. I've just met him a couple of times. I can't call him a friend. But the bottom line was we were in the lobby on the intermission, and everyone was funneled into a very tight area. And there's this big idiot standing about 6 feet away, and everyone's jammed in and trying to get to the washrooms and the stairs. And he goes, fire, fire, like that. Yells fire twice and starts laughing. I thought I would have blinded him if I could have gotten near him.
At
with a
least he was
pencil.
laughing, so it was obvious that there was no congruence.
But the problem
it's
is,
totally wrong.
this can function as like a horrendous shock, even though it's ridiculous what he's doing because of the nature of what he's doing. So be careful what you say to people.
When you said airplane,
Sean Cullum, thank you.
I'm going to admit this now because I think we're past the
Was it
statute
you?
of limitations. No. So on
Statute of limitations.
the very first time I got on an airplane in my life, I believe I was in
Look at the visual check. Eyes up.
second. It was either second or third year university.
Okay.
I'm not sure which. It was probably third.
Right.
Anyway, second. Maybe it was second. No, third.
Nail
I don't
it
know.
down. Nail it
Irrelevant.
down, Chris.
Irrelevant. It's not an important detail. But I was getting on a plane to go on vacation during spring break to Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's the first time I'd ever been on a plane. Now,
What was the flight number?
I was a mechanical engineering student, so I learned a lot about all kinds of mechanical things and planes and lift
and how
thrust
airfoils don't work.
And so with a couple of the people on the plane were also engineering students, and we were talking about how, remember how we learned in class that, in fact, the wings are slightly oscillating. They look like they're static, but they're actually vibrating. And
like a bird's wings
after
flying?
about 1 million or so vibrations, the wings would technically just fall right off. They would fracture eventually. But then came the embedded command. But there's no need to worry about that at all, because obviously they do plenty of testing, and they never keep the plane in service that long anyway. So there's no need to worry about the wings falling off. We'd say that on the plane.
Who said it?
I did.
Were you doing an embedded command on purpose?
Of course I was.
So
because
that's
I had
the statute
learned,
of limitations.
You got to keep in mind, you had unleashed this monster in me. You had been doing the brain software keynote presentations at that university, where I learned this.
So this must have been
stuff.
early 90s, like 93
Yes, it was,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because my graduating year was 96, so it was around 95, 94.
And are you using all of those skills and certificates and degrees now?
Yeah, but now not to freak people out and scare them. So
okay, so that's good.
So there you go.
Let's get to the next one here. And
those are very
Angela, our student Angela Milburn said, "What is the smallest method tool you use that has the biggest impact?"
Ooh, this is like an 80-20 question.
That's a great question.
Angela out in the UK.
Yes,
all right,
great student. So, any idea on this one? Because
I was thinking 6-step tapping.
Okay, that
obviously has a big effect on people. I also think that generally rapport is the glue that holds trance together. You got to do everything with rapport. If you don't have rapport, you're just throwing away everything that you have available to you. I don't know.
Those are good answers.
What are some other really simple, small
Well, because she's saying
things?
simple, small thing. You know what it is?
Using catalepsy at the beginning of a trance session.
Well, yeah, I'm not thinking of a technique so much as, for me, the one that I think has freaked me out the most. Well, no, it's actually a composite. It's a power suggestion where you're giving one suggestion once with such congruence, such intention behind it. Remember I said the police officer, Cal Smith in Sudbury, Ontario, he wanted to quit smoking. He's on stage. I just turned around and said, "You will never smoke again." That was it. And he sort of looked at, and he never did. I saw him 2 years later.
And that's an interesting example, because we traditionally teach that suggestions should be stated in the positive,
generally speaking,
and that one was not. But these aren't rules; they're principles. And
that's right.
Doesn't mean that it won't work if you say never smoke again.
The principle is also to repeat them in different ways, and that was just bang.
And the guy wanted to quit, so saying never smoke again, he'll accept that with the rapport of you being friends.
Just deliver the suggestion right into the very bowel of the brain.
Yeah, you had automatic rapport with him because he was a friend, and he he looked up to you. You had prestige in his
Prestige
mind.
as well. Good point.
So there you go.
Yeah,
so a power suggestion.
A power suggestion
with
can be.
congruence and intention. So
And that too.
And
now,
that.
Pat Mazzella says, has there been any shown effectiveness of hypnosis on personality disorders, BPD, ASPD, avoidant personality disorders, schizoid?
This is a good one because we are not the type to go out there and look for research in journals. And I find that a lot of the clinical research on this stuff is difficult because research tends to have to require controls, which then results in things like script reading. Not that.
Oh no, I
get
understand.
that, but
I understand.
You take away the opportunity to personalize, and therefore you reduce the opportunity to do true so-called clinical research.
Yes, you can't reduce people to do this technique. Oh, it didn't work. Do that.
So you have to end up with a bunch of anecdotes.
Of course, but of course, then the idiots don't want you to ever use anecdotes,
and that's a fair criticism.
You notice that, but there's this implication that if something is anecdotal, it is by necessity false.
Well,
but
how does all evidence start? As a series of anecdotes.
Well, that's just your opinion.
Yeah,
he was a postmodern idiot. Now, obviously, this is something that is not our area, but avoidant personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, all these that I'm seeing here, bipolar and so on. Obviously, hypnosis isn't effective against them because if it was, and wait for the punchline, I have all kinds of relatives who'd be normal now.
Yeah.
You heard me.
There's the prestige element, but let's break this down at a slightly different angle,
right?
In terms of its baby steps. So if somebody has let's just randomly call it the personality disorder, that's a spectrum. That is not an on-off switch. Oh, he has the personality disorder. Oh, no, he doesn't.
Right.
There is a spectrum of how much of a disorder does someone have? Do I have a messy room or do I have a really messy room? Right. Have I sort of clean up and I've still left my dirty socks at the corner of the bed, or is it just a pigsty?
Well, this is it.
And
let's go back
hypnosis and general principles of human change can help. For sure. Right?
Yeah.
It's just communication and learning new things. And if you can help someone learn something new in the context of a hypnotic trance and delivering suggestion, teach somebody something useful, they go off and they improve their life in some way, they've moved along that spectrum.
Right. Now, remember, too, there is 2 points I want to make here. One of them is I have worked with OCD. I worked with that quite a bit. There's a pediatrician who sent me his patients and had good results with that. But otherwise, a lot of the research in things like this, I think it's flawed intrinsically because the way they go about it, you get a bunch of freaking Enneagram 5 sitting there, and they're
finding the problem, right?
Yeah, and throwing the same method at everyone. This is the nonsense that gave us this concept that only 10% of people are really good subjects. And this, well, how are they inducing trance? By playing a phonograph record at everyone, and presuming that this is going to be the perfect method.
Whereas you respond perfectly to this, you're hypnotizable generally.
Yeah.
Ooh. But if you don't respond to this specific thing, no, you're sorry, you're not.
Anyway,
you're not hypnotizable.
So we're gonna let that one go. So we're gonna give it a huge, interesting question, Pat. But we don't really know. You have to.
I do think it's also worth mentioning this though. These are labels, right? So this label is a model. Because it's not the actual brain, this personality disorder, whatever they call it. They're just attaching a label to it so that they can, usually to prescribe a drug of some sort or some sort of intervention.
Now, what my question with that, though, Chris, and you're going to like this, is the word label itself a label?
Of course it is, yeah. We're talking about
Why
this.
am I doing sci-fi music?
We're talking about
this.
Yeah, it's this.
And this.
You have to watch the video if you're wondering what the heck we're doing.
So let's get to Claire now.
All right, Claire asks,
what are some of the limitations? So I thought it said limousines without my glasses.
What are the limousines of hypnosis?
What are some of the limitations of what hypnosis can do in the realm of generative change? Or share some success you found using this way. Generative change is one of my favorite things when I was doing therapy that I would work with a lot. Let's group this broadly into remedial change and generative change.
And then I'm going to destroy it all and say how they're both the same.
Well, they are. Yeah. They are. But we're looking in large chunks, just the way positive and negative hallucinations
taking something you're already good at and making
improving
it better.
Or taking a problem and resolving it. And in either case, there will be elements of the other.
Okay, let me give an example then, because this is perfect
Chris.
timing since yesterday, Mike and I were recording this on a Friday, and we just happened to, yesterday, have a wonderful lunch at Yamato in Yorkville with our friend Greg. He was in one of our cohorts as a student. He's an awesome guy, and he took us out for lunch with his wife. and we were talking about hypnosis and all sorts of interesting things. Anyway, in one of the online sessions that we were working on together, we were in breakout rooms, and he didn't have a partner. So he was in with you and I and Timothy, and I said, well, you get to choose who you work with. He says, Chris, what do you want to work on? And I said, you know what? I picked something. What's an everyday problem that I can pick? That's a real example. And I said,
Ken Sweatman.
well, I've been doing my workouts. I've added this new thing to my workout, and it's causing me to avoid the old thing that I still want to do. But somehow the new thing is like the bright, shiny object, and it's causing me to make excuses and not do the other stuff, which was the gymnastic strength training. So he says, okay, great. And so we did a session. He gave me some wonderful suggestions. And you know what?
What?
That's all it took.
Yeah.
All he had to do was wake me up in my trance to some ideas around how I can feel good and plan to do them both. And I can't even remember what he said, but it changed my behavior.
Now, did he pull the
immediately.
other thing back into your behavior?
I can't remember.
Notice I'm using the word pull.
Yeah,
See, I'm fitting
pull.
it in.
Yeah, nicely
Fitting
done.
it in on the highway of life. That's good.
Well, now I'm gonna wonder what stereoscopic images were firing.
Well, speaking of which, you had a lucid dream last night.
Oh my goodness.
It's all he's been talking about since I got here. He's told me the whole story three times.
I woke up in such a good mood. Do you want me to tell you a fourth
I
time?
think you should tell it.
All right,
because
I'll tell.
Here, this is part of the Q&A.
Yeah.
I will ask you a question.
Okay, here, hold
Chris, what about lucid dreaming?
Okay, somebody asked about this in our group, the MMHA Engage Facebook group for our Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy members. That's where we all interact. There's your commercial. Join us, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. It's awesome. It's so much fun. Somebody had mentioned lucid dreaming and wanted to know about it, and I dropped a little response saying, I haven't had too many experiences with it,
Yeah.
but when I have,
Yeah.
it's generally been when I'd wake up in the middle of the night and for some reason have a hard time falling back asleep, would do self-hypnosis, eventually get into that hypnagogic, which is when you're going back into sleep, hypnagogic state. And that's when I would catch myself having moments of lucid dreaming. It was awesome. I remember one time riding some sort of wakeboard down the streets of my old Toronto neighborhood. Like there were water, like it was
Buddy,
massive lanes of
that's not an
swimming
awesome
pool.
dream. If
Well,
I
and
had
I
a
did all
lucid dream,
kinds of
that's
other.
not what I would be
I know.
picking.
But I remember that's how it started, and I realized I'm actually lying in bed right now asleep, and I'm dreaming, and this is so cool and realistic, and I can control what happens.
But
And anyway, some
yeah, but it sounds to me that even though it was amazing and you managed to stay asleep, which is always the initial problem.
yes,
I found.
eventually
And
I
you go,
wake
oh,
up
I'm
and
dreaming.
go,
Oh, I'll wake up,
and then
right?
it collapses.
But that's I would not be choosing a wakeboard. I mean,
No, that's what started. You got to remember
blowing
that.
up buildings with ray guns or something.
So
you know?
I had moments where I then took control and said, oh, well, okay, if I'm doing this, then I could do something else. And at some point I was in a scene where I was climbing up a cement staircase in a building, and I looked up and I saw
there's
the
Shania
ceiling.
Twain.
And I thought, this is a lucid dream. That means I could just jump up like a superhero
Yeah.
and break through the ceiling and land on the next floor above me.
Did you do that?
Yeah, except my head hit the ceiling in the lucid dream, and I thought, well, that didn't hurt, but damn it, why didn't I go through? There must be some weird limiting belief. I don't know. And I eventually woke up. It was stupid.
But that's
But
interesting.
check this out, buddy. Here's the thing. So last night's lucid dream, because I had been talking in the group, I guess, about lucid dreams,
I guess.
and I did wake up, and I had no problem falling back asleep last night. But as I went into trance to fall back asleep, I started having another lucid dream where I realized, but this was the first time that I didn't consciously realize I was actually asleep, lying in bed right at that very moment. But I knew I was dreaming, and I was at our family cottage, wandering around going, this is incredible.
And there's Shania Twain.
All the full details, little imperfections in a building here or on the dock there or the ripples in the water. My brain was producing photorealistic, pixel perfect maps of everything going, this is just stupidly amazing that this can happen. And it lasted a really long time. And no, unfortunately, nothing really interesting happened. I just explored.
You just
the cottage
enjoyed
grounds.
the experience itself.
But it lasted a really long time, longer than ever before. I knew I was dreaming, but I didn't ever have the conscious awareness that, oh yeah, I'm actually lying in bed right now. But it was freaky. I just think it's amazing. If you wake up in the middle of the night, go into self-hypnosis and just wait and expect a lucid dream and see what happens.
Well, that's interesting, Chris. And that's a great way of going about it. My question for you is, can you imagine how weird it would be
if Shania Twain was actually there?
Well, no, don't go there. If that pattern interrupter. Why? Listen, here's the question. How weird would it be if you're lucid dreaming right now?
Oh,
Okay, let's get on with this. Now,
There
that
we
was a
go.
good question, though. Someone
Hey,
said,
we did that in stereo.
thanks, man.
Except that this is mixed down in
I'll
mono.
pull us back.
Right.
Scary. We're back to
Oh.
that again. I have a question. All right, and this isn't me. I'm reading it. I feel like I'm unclear about future states and associated versus dissociated. On one hand, there seems to be a direction to not associate future states or unconscious things. We already have it. On the other, preparing a subject for, say, confidence and speaking in front of a crowd, we're encouraging them in trance to see themselves doing that in a powerful state. That seems associated to me.
No, it's not. That's okay.
What am I
so
missing
that
here?
we don't have a name for
Everything.
this question, do we?
No.
Okay, so whenever you are seeing yourself in a scene, that is dissociated. When you see it as if you're looking through your own eyes, like the lucid dream I just explained, when I was wandering around the cottage property, I was in my own body. The camera, what I was seeing was coming out my eyes. Imagine the video camera being inside your head.
Yes, you're inside your own skin. You're in your shoes. You're in your own clothing. That is associated. Now, it's great. We said to our group online yesterday, one of the things that's important is to recognize that when you are associated, that is the best way to experience any kind of kinesthesis. So when you want to experience feelings, strong feelings be associated, whether they're emotions or physical touch.
Physical feelings.
Same neural pathways. Now, having said that, when you wish to get away from some sort of pain or discomfort,
dissociate,
emotional or otherwise, dissociate
Step
from it,
back from
increase the dissociation, make your image of yourself further away, smaller, and that does a lot to reduce it. Now, I was at the dentist for some work this week.
I know, that's why we're here.
It's an intervention. Shut up. So, or I'll tell about your Shania Twain dream. Now, listen, here's the thing. So I've got this wonderful East Indian hygienist, Riti. She's a really nice woman. And she's got this device that they're now allowed to use again. That COVID
the
is
ultrasonic cleaner thing? The one that makes all the magic happen, but during COVID, they go, oh, no, we can't. That's too dangerous.
It could kill everybody.
Yeah.
So she's in there like Jack the frickin' Ripper with this.
Yeah.
And going around the very colon of each tooth. Like,
each gum line.
And it started to zing. Like it started to feel almost like it was almost like a drill.
Did
like
you say, whoa, this stuff
really comes out? No, but I was very tempted.
Yeah.
So she's like just Jack the Ripper on it. And I went, oh, simple. I just instantly dissociated. Imagine, no, I'm not doing astral projection here. Imagine I floated out of my body and I was looking down on the two of us with her doing the work. Instantly, I reduced the discomfort by about 80%.
That's a magical way of taking any emotion and dialing it down, or any physical feeling and dialing it down.
Right.
Just imagine that you're watching it happen to that other you over there, or in Mike's case, floating up and looking down upon that smaller, brighter. You can change submodalities. Make it a little less bright, make it darker is what I was intending.
That's probably the word. So that's good.
Kind of thing.
So if you're doing something like increasing confidence, whatever it is, we believe present state associated, desired state dissociated.
Right.
So you want the empowered you acting and speaking to the audience and being strong, and you're observing this from the distance. You build the dissociated you, and then bring in the resource by pulling that person inside
that's it. I'm glad you mentioned this, because when you're doing, and you can do this just by talking to somebody in a typical NLP style intervention. You don't have to introduce a trance, but you'll get one by default when they congruently participate in the exercise. So if you imagine this dissociated person, this other them, doing the thing perfectly, everything's going well,
right?
Noticing how amazing that other you feels, and the applause from the crowd, and add in all that stuff, and then the finalization is to install that. Now imagine that other you walks over, and you can take that other you and physically hug him or her, take him inside of your actual
there's the word again.
Pull in, and come back to now and notice how good you feel,
and
your
breathe in the changes.
Implication is like a brain software has been installed into the person's brain, and they will now they'll go able to forget how to speak. They'll be able to go out to the world and carry out the instructions that the software has said.
Just do it, damn it. That's great.
Yeah.
We lost the thread near the end, but I think we got out of it all right.
Well, maybe Brado can rescue us or something.
Unfortunately, we're half an hour in, buddy.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and then we'll go back to some questions. So we have tonight on the Patricia Krenwinkel Network,
You woke up today and the plants have all faded. There are reasons you feel this way now. The snails have invaded. There's a wheelchair in the laundromat and powder on the floor. A grease gun in the powder room and chains across the door. So you fill your mug with gasoline and fling it at the dogs. And the kids are late for dinner and their pockets filled with frogs. There's that leather skirt behind the fridge and no place left to go. 'Cause your sister lives in Meaford now and dresses like a hoe. So I say, Jenny, 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 why not rinse out that old K-Tel plastic salad spinner that Duder wants to buy from you and put on that 8-track of Roy Orbison and spend an afternoon cleaning up some Irish Spring soap in the shower stall at the trucker's filling station before you borrow a couple of bucks from Eddard and hitch a ride into Owen Sound to the outpatient clinic where that bastard Dr. Ellis still provides the requisite skin creams at cost, and then see how many bikers are still hanging around the pool hall and find out if you're able to quietly slip down that broken flight of steps that lead to that pawn shop where you sold your floating heart necklace, and wink at Perry so he'll open the hidden cupboard and you can reach right in and pick up a smooth one for yourself.
The return of Jenny and the Smooth One tonight at 8:04 p.m. on the Linda Kasabian Network. Okay, and we are back, and we're going to handle 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap this sucker
Yes, we
up.
are.
So let's get to Tara's question on brainwaves. You want to read it?
Are the brainwaves the same in a hypnotic state as they are in a meditative state? Do you consider a hypnotic state a meditative state and vice versa?
Oh, it's
That's
the
a good
all
one.
trout are fish and
Yeah,
not all fish are trout question.
Yeah,
Okay.
all trout are fish, but all fish are not trout. The way we look at it is all meditation is hypnotic, if not necessarily hypnosis, but all hypnosis isn't necessarily meditation. When one goes into a trance, we experience high and then low alpha, which is exactly what we get from daydreaming. And this is the thing that idiot Kreskin says, hypnotists think that there's a special state, and it's a freaking red herring and, straw man argument. We're not saying it's a special state.
Yep.
Yeah. But your brainwaves will slow down. We see the brain actually slows down and you can produce a theta wave in trance. And all of these things happen during meditation as well. So the question is, what kind of meditation are you doing and what kind of trance are you producing as a result of it? Because the two maybe do not overlap exactly, but to a large degree they do.
Okay, awesome. So brainwaves, they're interesting to know about. We don't typically, unless we put something on somebody's head while we're hypnotizing
Which we did
them.
in one of our classes.
Yeah, Raheem had that awesome piece of equipment.
Right, we put a student in the Esdale state.
I wonder if
and
that's...
you could see the gamma spike.
It was very
pretty
neat.
interesting,
and
wasn't it?
I wonder if that's going to become mainstream down the road at some point. Who knows? Because all you need is a sensor, I suppose. But I am never aware of brain waves when I'm hypnotizing someone or doing hypnosis on myself. So I have actually no idea whether any of this is useful or just interesting.
Well, that's the difference between you and you. I think it's going to say me. Okay.
Hey, I heard that in stereo, Mike.
But we're going to jump to in recent experiences of being hypnotized. It kind of feels I'm in a lucid dreaming state. I feel like in direct action, just like in my lucid dreaming opportunities. Are they similar brainwave wise? Do they relate, if at all? I don't know.
I don't know.
And generally we don't say that. We'll make up a congruent answer really, really well, but we do not know.
But remember, anecdotally, I have slipped into lucid dreaming states when I started doing
I'm going to start doing that now
to fall back asleep.
Yes, and remember, all anecdotes are false just by virtue of being anecdotes.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
That's right.
Is that one even false?
Shut up.
All right.
So Grace asks. We'll close with this. Oh no!
We'll see how many we can
let's
get
do the Korean one because this is going to be a longer response.
Okay. Well, we said we were going to do the Grace Asks one, so we have to at least touch on it.
So
now she's going to go.
I've been asked to work with someone who has a fear of flying, a fear of not being in control when the plane door gets closed, and having to trust the pilot and others on board. Does anyone have any advice on the best way to do this? As I'm not feeling confident.
So map across to other. I would be asking questions about other that gently and cleverly elicit responses where the person acknowledges that there are other parts of life where she's also not in control.
Oh, and an elevator.
And well, you get in an
death.
elevator, don't you? Of course. Just think if it was a conversation, well, across the dinner table, you get in an elevator, right? How do you know that that's safe?
How do you know your doctor's actually
Are
a
you
doctor?
ever the passenger in a car?
Yeah.
Even when you're driving a car, you're not in control of what the other drivers around you do.
Especially in this area, yeah.
Right? If you live in California, you're not in control of whether there's an earthquake that will take the building. Not to scare anyone.
But yeah, we've gone through the person's doctor's.
I remember when I was a
plane crash,
kid, I thought I would never want to live in California because they have earthquakes there, and that's dangerous. And
well, you were in Ottawa for a while. They have earthquakes too.
Yeah, there's earthquakes everywhere.
That's interesting.
Anyway, but there are plenty. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, elicit the submodalities on it. Find out exactly how does no, you didn't. How does the person even create this fear? I realize fear of flying it's never a fear of heights that I've discovered, because there's no sense of height in a plane. It's because you don't get the convergence phenomena that you get looking down the side of a building, but it will be something else. And fear of being out of control, especially during things like turbulence. Yeah. You can also run the hypnosis pattern that we teach by the rehearsal backwards, rehearsal technique. You can use the 6-step tapping that is in our academy that will depotentiate it, and just keep hammering at the thing until it's gone.
It's a really good question though, because it highlights the idea that we're eliciting what is actually creating the problem. It's this sense of not being in control when the door is closed. What, were you in control when the door was open? Right. I suppose you were in control of your ability to exit. That's probably what it may, I'm mind reading.
Would you prefer to fly in a plane where the door is open all the time?
Well, this is it, right?
I know.
If I gave you a parachute and left the door open, would you be okay with that? We're not going to actually ask the person.
No,
that,
of course.
But it gets some silliness around it. But you get the idea that you can have someone realize that there are plenty of times in their life where they're not actually in control and they're perfectly happy. Now, what if you were to elicit that and give it a name as an ego state? What is that part of you that is able to so perfectly sit in a passenger seat?
So there's a lot of different ways of going about this.
And then run the rehearsal technique with that ego state in the plane.
And find out if there was an initial sensitizing event that needs to be cleared. And there's so many ways of coming at this. I'm 99% sure you'll do a great job.
This is the kind of stuff we talk about in the Mike Mandel Hypnosis.
Now let's get to the Corrine question. Thanks for that, Grace. What is the best approach for severe misophonia?
Misophonia.
I'll take this one.
Go for it.
Misophonia is that thing where people are repulsed by mouth noises, usually when someone's eating. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Mouth noises.
That kind of thing. Yeah. The interesting thing is current research seems to indicate it is not psychological. It is actually causing a response in the limbic system where it does not belong.
Interesting. Okay.
And now I think this is related to ASMR. Whereas I listen to women with a soft voice and making clicking noises.
You're talking
about
those weird videos that you send me once in a while where somebody's going,
and I just go, I just zone right out really, really fast. Bob Ross doing his paintings. It causes an autonomic sensory meridian response with me, and a lot of people misophonia. Well, it's not a misophonia, but right now, even our cat, our little cheetah Bengal cat Tesla, who died a couple of years ago, he had a thing called feline audiogenic reflex seizure.
Oh yeah, if there was like a bag of chips or something like that,
a rattling sound of a bag of chips, the cat would have an actual seizure in his limbic system. We rushed him to a veterinary neurologist. Our vet phoned ahead. He had a seizure that lasted 90 minutes.
That's
like
weird.
Normally they're over in 30 seconds. And they said this sound can trigger it. And I said to my wife, was there anything happening just before he had it? She said, well, I was chasing him, shaking a piece of aluminum foil. So, bingo. And he was fine after that. It just caused this weird limbic system response. I'm hearing a limbic system response over and over and over with this.
So can that be dealt with hypnotically? Can there be a suggestion that it just, can we use a control panel style?
I don't know. And this is why it's a good question. Let's bring up one more example and then we'll close. Misophonia is also tied to some people who get MS. They have audiogenic urinary urgency, meaning, some people.
So if you hear a certain sound, you got to rush to the toilet.
Well, yeah, the doctor when I was a kid would say, they have to do a urine sample. He'd turn on the tap and the water running. And,
and that makes somebody else feel like they need to go.
Yeah, right. But, some people can get this to such a degree that hearing vitamins rattle in a bottle or filling the car with gas causes an immediate almost panic need to urinate. And again, this has all got to be limbic system. So the question is, can it be rewired through hypnosis? I have no idea, but it's certainly worth looking at.
Really strange. I wonder if that has to do at all with any other body systems that respond to aroma. The smell of coffee
Well, the
For
smell
example.
of vomit makes me sick.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's true. Yeah, but the smell of coffee can cause a response in my body.
No, most things don't put me off that I see because I'm not highly visual. So although I did watch on Nova, they did an autopsy and I was eating a sub sandwich and I couldn't eat one for years after that because the guy was taking slices off, off the human liver.
I got to tell you one that happened to me when I was a little kid. I loved Saturday morning pancakes.
Shut up, Dad.
Seriously.
Saying it like my dad. It's pancakes.
So, but I loved pancakes. I didn't make them from scratch or anything. We used the Aunt Jemima. It was the usual thing. You needed one cup of the mix, 1 egg, 1 cup of milk, tablespoon of oil, mix it up, cook it up in the pan.
Thank you, Gordon
Saturday
Ramsay.
morning pancakes, fantastic. So here I am watching some TV show in the basement TV area.
Yeah.
I'm just a little kid and probably like 6 years old or something. And I'm watching this show and it's this black and white scene. These two guys are like out sleeping by a campfire that had clearly burned out. It was an old scene, black and white. And these two guys, like they're literally this far apart. They're lying on their backs. One guy wakes up before the other, looks over at his friend, and there's this giant bug, like the size of a suitcase, on him. And so he reaches over and he smashes it. Yeah. And it just, like all this white guts. Yeah. And it made me think pancake batter. When I went to make the pancakes.
Couldn't do it.
White pancake batter. It made me think of squished bug. And for quite a while, I could not eat pancakes. It was aversion therapy.
That totally works. You know, the thing that doesn't bother me is I typically watch surgeries and that. They don't bother me at all. It's watching a baby eat can almost make me freaking vomit.
Oh, like with the
and people, it's so funny. It's all his face. I'm like, disgusting.
I'm going to pretend to be a baby.
No, I will blind you.
Okay, yeah, I know
I will go right to blinding you.
All right. With that, I think we're probably going to wrap this sucker up.
Chris, why don't you give us the empowering question?
All right. So where is it? Here we go. Ask yourself, if someone came up to you today and asked you to explain hypnosis to them, what would your answer be? And how will it impact your own life to figure that out?
Wow. Nice. I got a story for you. A quick meta 5, which is one better than a metaphor, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
You know what? You ever find how difficult it is? I'm sure every kid has probably had this example where you're innocent, but you're accused of something. Have you ever tried to seem, it's speaking right into it. Have you ever tried to look innocent when you are?
Oh, and then you
wind up looking guilty.
You are innocent, and you're smiling about it because you know inside
or just
that you're
trying
innocent.
so hard to
and you're aware that
innocence.
everyone thinks you're lying.
Yes,
and you know you're not. And this weird cognitive dissonance. Like I'm sure that I'm telling you the truth, but I'm also sure
that the other person isn't believing me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example.
That happens to
Years
me all the
ago,
time.
this church that Heather and I used to go to, the minister was a very nice guy, intellectual, Enneagram 5, really smart guy. He comes up to me one day. Now, Palm Pilots had just come out. Remember Pocket PC as well? Yeah. Was this before BlackBerry and all of those things?
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah, Palm Pilot.
So he comes up to me and he said, "Did you write a review online about the Palm Pilot?" And I said, "No." He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Of course I'm sure." I said, "I don't even own a Palm Pilot." He said, "You don't own one?" I said, "No." He said, "So you didn't write the review?" And I said, "No, I didn't write the review." And he's looking at me. He just looks at me and walks away. I could tell he didn't believe me. It drove me freaking crazy. So I don't know, did someone write this scathing review with a lot of swearing and stuff and he was convinced it was me and that I was trying to get out of it? Like
maybe he was doing context-free humor to you. The Palm Pilot, that's awesome.
Are you sure? Like, are you sure you didn't write a review? Yeah, I should have said to him, "Did you kill John F. Kennedy?" "No, are you sure?" "Are you sure?" And then act all suspicious and walk away. Okay, we're out of here.
Thanks, everybody. This has been episode 204, right? 204 of
Still here.
204, not 5. 204 of the Brain Software Podcast. I'm Chris Thompson.
I'm
This is
Mandel.
Mike Mandel. Hope you enjoyed our Q&A session all about hypnosis. If you're interested in learning about hypnosis, check out the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. It's so much fun. You can start with a free trial at MikeMandelHypnosis.com. If you're more into using hypnosis and fixing your own life and making it awesome and learning to be a better communicator, then check out the products page on our website and you'll see the personal growth membership. It's really reasonably priced. In fact, version 2 of the Personal Development Academy is in
2.0
editing right now at no extra charge for all members. So that's coming up. Check out our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We'll see you on the inside of our members area and our discussion area.
See you on the other
side. Look forward to
side.
meeting you in person one day.
Yeah.
And thanks again.
And
Good night.
Hey, Chris, you know my favorite utility word?
Trouser?
Nope, bastard.
Oh, bastard.
You can use it so many ways. You can
he's
use
a bastard.
well, you can use it
From
like
bastard.
you can use it as like an adjective. Put the bastard thing down.
Put that
right?
bastarding.
Or you
thing
can
down.
say, you can use it, I think it's a gerund with an ing. You can say to the person, well, don't just stand there bastarding.
That's
which
right.
That's kind of an interesting one, right?
Mhm.
Or you can say, why don't you bastard off?
That's right.
Which is better than saying F off. It's less offensive.
Yes,
And
like
then
a
there's-
verb.
Like a verb.
Mhm.
And then there's the universal one. You can actually just say to the person, you're a bastard.
Yes, you're a bastard.
Scary thing of doing embedded command. Embedded statement. That's freaking brilliant. Oh, we're at work right now.